I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about direct-to-consumer advertising, given that the United States and New Zealand are the two only major countries in the world that allow it, and just what your views are about the role that direct-to-consumer advertising plays in the pharmaceutical market.
To be honest, I've always been a little baffled by direct-to-consumer advertising, both the fact that only the U.S. and New Zealand do it, but also it's hard for me to believe that it really works, but companies wouldn't be doing it if, in fact, it didn't work and didn't work pretty well. It worries me in terms of the goal, I guess, is to make consumers more aware of options that are out there, but I think it also creates some misperceptions about these drugs and their uses. It creates an environment in which, especially with all the pressures on physicians in their offices today, patients coming in and wanting drugs that may not be appropriate, but the physician's not having time to really go into all of the options with them. In some ways, I feel it's kind of a missed opportunity to provide some education about the diseases themselves. But I'm not sure it's the best way to create a smart, engaged patient and consumer population, and it does create a set of other pressures.
In recent years, there's been a lot of controversy over the FDA's authority to prevent drug manufacturers from promoting off-label uses of their products, so uses that haven't been approved by the FDA. Many industry advocates argue that the companies have a First Amendment commercial speech right to make truthful claims about their product. What are some of the risks of allowing broader off-label promotion of prescription drugs?
Well, I really like to ground everything in the best possible evidence for appropriate use. And I think we do need to learn more about off-label use of products. We know it happens, and we know that there can be benefits for patients, but I think we need to study and learn and really understand so that providers and patients can make the best possible decisions. And I think if there is a lot of marketing of products for off-label uses where the data is not assessed in terms of the quality of the data, you begin to run the risk of being back in the era of snake oil salesmen who are attributing all kinds of wonderful characteristics or possibilities to products that aren't there.
One of the major risks is that if you use a drug for a different indication, maybe in a different patient population, the same benefit risks that you know about a drug in one situation may not translate in the same way. How do you try to express that risk to patients and physicians?
Well, I think that FDA is, doesn't regulate the practice of medicine, but FDA provides, and I think patients need to be aware if a product is being used off-label, and that should be discussed with the patient. I think that patients are very interested, though, if they have an opportunity to get access to a treatment that might help their condition, even if it doesn't have an FDA approval, to potentially have that opportunity. But then I feel that it is an obligation of the company and FDA and the broader scientific community to try to establish the best knowledge base for that kind of an action to be taken. I think there are ways in the modern era for us to do a better job studying off-label use. There is existing data that should be studied and mined and analyzed, and we should be making use of that data to enhance our understandings. Industry also, I think, can and often does do studies to expand indications for use when there is important evidence that an off-label use is clearly a major practice benefit. But I think where the concerns are is when claims are made and the data isn't necessarily there, and when the data hasn't been subject to a more rigorous review